Hey guys, today we're going to do something pretty simple and straightforward. We're going to convert radians to degrees and degrees back into radians. So let's jump right in. This proportion, you need to memorize it, so definitely write it down and memorize it. We're going to use it, but we're not necessarily going to use it in this form. But you definitely need to know this proportion for pre-calculus, and you need to understand how we get our two forms from it. So you can see that you have your degrees divided by 180 equals radians divided by pi. So basically what this kind of shows you is that pi is equal to 180 degrees. So you should know that for pre-calculus and calculus, but mostly pre-cal. So from this proportion, we get these two formulas, which we can't really see the bottom, so I'll scoot it up. From the proportion on the previous slide, you get the following two methods. So if we want to convert degrees into radians, we're going to multiply by pi radians over 180. Basically, we're just going to divide by 180. And then if we're going to convert radians into degrees, we're going to multiply by 180 and then divide by pi. So basically, you can see that these are reciprocals of each other, and basically that's just going forward and backwards. So degrees into radians will do this, and radians into degrees will do this. You'll notice when I work the examples, I'm going to highlight them blue or red, depending on which one we're doing. So that way, hopefully, it ties in to which, to which formula we're using to kind of give you another layer of linkage. So let's look at an example. What is the degree measure of an angle that has negative 3 pi over 4 radians? So I'm going to go back to this slide. I want the degree measure from radians, so I'm going to highlight this red. So I'm going to get out my highlighter, and I'm going to change it to red. And so I'm going to highlight this red to remind me that I need to be using my red formula. So to go back to that, I'm even going to write in red. I'm going to take negative 3 pi over 4, and I'm going to multiply by, and I'm going to get kind of snazzy here. I'm going to multiply by this, so I'm going to copy it, paste it, and then I'm going to adjust its size so it's the same size as everything else. And so that's literally what I'm going to multiply by. Show you how we multiply. All right. Excuse me. So I like to cancel everything I can before I multiply. And really, now that I look at this more in detail, I need to add a little layer. So I'm going to scoot this over. And I need to add in the word radians here because my word radians is going to cancel out. So negative 3 pi over 4 radians times, and now I'm going to scoot this back in. So I apologize for that little hiccup, but I'm going to multiply everything I can now. So make sure that you include your terminology because you want it to cancel. So this pi is going to cancel with this pi. This radians is going to cancel with this radians. So really all I'm multiplying is negative 3 over 4 times 180. So now I'm going to turn to my trusty calculator. And I'm going to do negative 3 divided by 4 times 180. Enter. And I get negative 135. So if I go back to my notebook presentation, this is going to be negative 135 degrees. So I just converted this radian measurement into a degree measurement. And when I get back to class, we will look more at the unit circle and degree measurements, so you'll kind of understand better what we're finding here. All right, let's look at the next example. What is the radian measure of an angle of 27? So I'm going from degrees into from degrees into radians. So this is a blue example. So I'm going to take my pen and I'll write in blue. So 27. Now I don't have to write the word degrees if I put the symbol degrees. I'm going to multiply that by. I'm going to go back here and steal my formula. And I'm going to multiply by pi radians over 180. So, picking my pen back up. Degrees cancels with degrees. And then I have 27. If I multiply across, I have 27 pi radians over 180. So I need to see if 27 over 180 is going to simplify. So I'll try that in my calculator just to speed up the process. 27 divided by 180. And then I need to throw in a math enter. And I get 3 over 20. So I can either do 3 pi over 20 radians, or I can literally type this in and give a decimal approximation. I believe we'll go to the thousandths on this. So I'm going to do open parentheses 3 pi divided by 1/8 or divided by 20. Please, please, please do not use 3.14 here. Your calculator has a pi button, so just use it. It is less buttons to use the pi button. So I get 0.4712388898. The thousandths place would be 3 decimal places, so 0.471. So I'll put or 0.471 radians. So you'll see when you do your practice work, there are 2 answers, and that's how you get the 2 separate answers. So you've seen an example of each. Now I've got a page where I'm just going to work a few examples, and we'll see what happens. The question says, what is the degree measure of each angle expressed in radians? What is the radian measure of each angle that is expressed in degrees? It says express radian measures in terms of pi. So what that means is, when I do my radian measures, I'm going to answer like this. I'm not going to give a decimal approximation. I'm going to simplify and do this. So, first I'm going to start off by highlighting. Let's start off with blue. Blue is for degrees into radians. This is going to be a blue one, and this is going to be a blue one. Now, red, this is going to be a red one, and this is going to be a red one. So, I have my different options, or I've kind of categorized my problems so I understand what I'm expected to do in each one. And in fact, I'm going to work the 2 red ones first, then I'm going to work the 2 blue ones. That way, I'm switching gears less in my head, just kind of thinking ahead, planning ahead here. So, switch back to my pen. Now, the red one. So I'm going to go copy my red formula. Get that situated here. So I want to take my pen and make sure I'm writing in red. So I'm going to take pi over 2 radians, and I'm going to multiply by 180 over pi radians. This pi cancels with that pi. This radians cancels with this radians. So really, I just have 180 over 2. Now, I know enough just about numbers to know that 2 goes into 180 90 times. So this is going to get me 90 degrees. Okay, if you need to see that, I'll do it on my calculator just so you can see it. I literally just did in my head 180 divided by 2, and I got 90. So just in case you didn't catch on to that, there you go. All right, so now I'm going to erase what doesn't matter, and then I'm going to work the other one. So before I move forward, though, I am going to put up here, just to keep track of my answers, this got me 90 degrees. So now I'm going to say 2 radians times 180 degrees. So the radians cancels here. And this is interesting because I don't have the pi cancel out. So when I multiply across, if you need to, you can think of this as a fraction. Multiply across the top, 2 times 180 is 360. And then 1 times pi is pi. So I'm going to go to my calculator, and I'm going to do 360 divided by pi. I could say this is 360 divided by pi degrees. I could also give a decimal approximation. So 360 divided by pi, and 114.592. I'm going to go 3 decimal places on that, so 114. So 114.592 degrees. So I would take either one of these as an answer. So up here I'm going to make note of that. I said 114.592 degrees. All right, so I've done the 2 red ones. So now it's time for me to convert degrees into radians. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to copy my other one, copy my blue one, because I need this formula now. So throw in my measurement. Now remember, it said here to to leave it in terms of pi. So I'm going to take 225 degrees, and I'm going to multiply by pi radians. The degrees cancels with the degrees. So really, I just need to figure out 225 divided by 180 and simplify it. So I'm going to do 225 divided by 180. Let me show you this shortcut. I know a lot of you are used to hitting enter and then going to math, enter, but you don't have to do that. You could just do that here, and I get 5 over 4. So this comes out to be 5 pi over 4 radians. Okay. And my board is acting a little bit slow, so that's why my box is so gigantic. So there you go. I just converted degrees into radians. So I'll do that again for this last example. All right, I've got 150 degrees times pi radians over 180. So the degree cancels with the degree. And now I just need to figure out what 150 over 180 is. And I'm going to do this by hand just so we practice this. This should be logical. The reason I'm doing this one is because they both end in 0. So you can cut the zeros off and you get 15 over 18. Then hopefully you see that 3 goes into both of those. So I get 5 over 6. So this is going to be 5 pi over 6 radians. Okay. If you have any questions, just let me know. You're more than welcome to email me. Oh, I didn't keep track of my answer here. So this got me 5 pi over 6 radians. And I'm going to pull my calculator back up so I can remind myself of what I did before. Second enter. Second enter. Second enter. Interesting. All right. Well, evidently my calculator didn't remember my command. So for the 225, let me do that again real quick. 225 divided by 180. Oh, I know. I went too many steps back. So I get 5 pi over 4 radians. So this one got me 5 pi over 4 radians. Okay. So there we go. that's how you convert degrees into radians and radians into degrees. You should now go back into Canvas. There's a Word document with about, I want to say, 16 practice problems. There should be 8 of each, and the answers are on page 2, so you can check yourself. So please, please, please work each one. Check yourself to make sure you're doing it right. And there you go. Thanks.